Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. Are you a resolution maker? I've got some resolutions for you today. Kind of like resolutions, I want to tell you what I would resolve to do were I the President of the United States. Stay tuned. For the best meat you have ever eaten in your life, go to samsbutchershop.com. Enter the coupon code TTT when you check out for a 10% discount. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the channel. I am trailertrashtim. Thank you so much for being here today. Happy New Year. We have made it. Good riddance 2023. Here's hoping everybody has a fantastic 2024. Things, I believe, are going to get better. Eventually, it may take the better part of the year. But anyway, here we go. Brand new year, brand new opportunities await all of us. Thank you for being here again. Do you make New Year's resolutions? A lot of people make resolutions. I don't really get into the habit of making resolutions so much because I haven't been real good at them in the past, right? But I got kind of a twist or an angle on that today. I've been sitting around with a legal pad mulling a fantasy of mine, and it would be, what if I could become the President of the United States? That's a horrific thought, right? I don't know if too many of you would vote for me, but I got to thinking, what would I resolve to do if somehow I could be the man next January who puts his hand on the Bible and assumes the presidency? One can dream, right? I mean, I am qualified. I'm old enough. Lord knows I'm about to turn 63 next month, if you can believe it. My Lord in heaven. I'm an American citizen, born and bred in Georgia, so I qualify. I think I made all the qualifications. So what would I do were I the president? And this is something I want all of you to think about, and I want you to comment down below and tell me what you would do were you the president, or what you would like for your president to do. I started writing, and I've come up with, I think, 29 things. There's probably a lot more, but this is a good start. And I want you to listen to what I would try and do if I were president. Comment down below what you think about these things. Tell me where you think I'm crazy or where you would say, amen, brother, do that. So in no particular order, and let me also say, I understand that presidents aren't kings. They can't just wave a wand and make a lot of things happen. They have to work with Congress. Although we need some quick action and decisive action in some of these areas, I'm not exactly sure how much authority do you have to do certain things. What you could just, with a stroke of a pen, do, but I'd do my best, believe me. So let's get going. Here's what I would do, or I would endeavor to do, either with a stroke of a pen or legislatively. You can work out the details later, but this would be my intentions. After I got sworn in, I would have a stack of papers in the Oval Office awaiting my signature to get the ball rolling. Number one, in no particular order, but this probably is the first thing I would do. Number one, I would bring our troops home. I would bring our troops home from wherever they are in the world. Ron Paul was asked about this one time, and he was asked, how soon would you bring, he said the same thing, and they asked, the interviewer asked, how soon would you bring them home? And he said, as soon as the ships could get them. And I feel the same way. Just go get them and bring them home. We would redeploy them. More about that in a little bit. I would immediately schedule a summit with President Putin of Russia and President Xi Jinping of China. And the reason I would schedule the summit is I would sit with them, either alone or all together, and I would convey the message. Look, it is time for us to end the hostilities. We've got one planet, and we've all have to coexist on this planet. We are going to tone down in the United States our position. We're not toning down in terms of strength. We're not backing off in terms of military strength, but in terms of our involvement and our insertion all over the world. Those days are over. And we're going to work now to not be hostile toward one another while we uphold in America the rule of law, but it's a new day for the United States, and we are going to mind our own business. I expect you to mind your business, and whatever you're involved in, that's your business. You take care, but stay out of our business and stay away from our borders unless you really do want some trouble. Otherwise, let's shake hands and agree to be friendly toward each other, and that's how we're going to move forward. And we're going to end the hostilities. No more meddling in Ukraine as far as the United States goes. We're done with that. We've got bigger fish to fry in our own country, and that's what we're going to be working on. Number 2, immediately rescind all Biden-era executive orders, every single one of them. Whatever he signed as an executive order, they're all immediately, automatically rescinded. Number 3, and this one is big, forbid my administration to have any communications with former Presidents Biden and Obama. Let me crack on this for a minute. There's something insidious that is happening right down the street from the White House and has been happening since Biden assumed occupancy. I have maintained that Joe Biden does not know what's going on, and there's like a shadow government in the United States. And the immediate predecessor of Donald Trump never left town, if you know what I mean. I realize that Barack Hussein Obama has a house on Martha's Vineyard, but he also has some digs right there in Washington, D.C. He ostensibly has never left, and he has inserted himself, I feel confident in saying, in the affairs of American governance to this day with his puppet, Joe Biden, and other people such as Valerie Jarrett and Susan Rice. All these people are pulling the Biden strings. And I would tell my administration, do not communicate with these people any longer. You know, any other president, it is usually the standard that former presidents, when they end their term, they leave, right? Ronald Reagan went back to California. Harry Truman went back to Missouri. Even LBJ went back to his ranch in Texas. Jimmy Carter went back to Plains. And they just got out of the picture. They're gone, and that's it. No more from them, right? Obama never left. He has still inserted himself into the governance of the United States. And that would end on day one with my administration. All right, number 4, I would close foreign military bases. And there are several reasons for that. Do you realize, ladies and gentlemen, that we have over 800 foreign military bases in this world? Can you believe that? Do you also realize that the founders and framers of the United States would be incredulous about such a thing? You do realize that our first president, George Washington, told us no foreign entanglements. They would be outraged at the fact that we have 800 military bases around this world. That would end with President Triple T. All right. Number 5, I would order an audit of the Federal Reserve, and I would also call for the abolition of same. Furthermore, I would order an audit of the Department of Defense, which somehow lost track of trillions of dollars. I don't know the exact amount, but I know it was in the trillions. They couldn't account for trillions of dollars the day after 9/11. Secretary Rumsfeld, do you remember that? Yeah, we don't know where it went. Nonsense. I would order an audit. I would also put us back on the gold standard. Hubba hubba. And we would pursue a policy of sound money. Stop printing fiat money. Stop printing paper and calling it money. We would return to sound money backed by hard assets, namely gold. Number 6, I think it is. I would veto any bill coming from Congress which includes new spending. You know who was a great president? Grover Cleveland. You know what he was known for? Vetoing everything. Everything that came across that man's desk, he vetoed. That's my kind of president right there. Brother, I'd need extra pens for all the vetoing I'd be doing. You'd have to really work hard to get a bill past me to get my signature. Number 7, and this is inspired by Vivek Ramaswamy, and he's absolutely right about this. I would I already said that. I would reduce the federal workforce by 90%. I might even put him in charge of that. I might just say, Vivek, I got a job for you. I want you to be a czar. I want you to oversee the drastic reduction of the federal workforce. Put your hand right here on the Bible and raise your hand and take your, the Bible. Read that Bible, Vivek. All right, some of you will get that. And I would also begin to eliminate federal departments, such as the Department of Education. If you want to make American kids smarter, the best thing you can do for them is eliminate the Federal Department of Education, which we got from Jimmy Carter. Reagan vowed to end it, and he didn't do it. Triple T would do it. As I said, this is in no particular order, but this would be high on my list. Pardon all J6 prisoners. Pardon all political prisoners. Pardon Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. Number 9, bring Gonzalo Lira home. Right now, one phone call, let him go. Number 10, I would begin to sell federal assets. This would include land. I've got an overarching theme here. You know, we are $33 trillion in debt. Pardon me, I got a case of dry mouth. We're $33 trillion in debt. I would begin to attack that, and one way I would begin to attack it, is to sell federal assets. This would include land. It would include equipment. There's no reason why we could not sell some federal land. We'd get a lot of money for it. Number 11, end corporate welfare. No federal government involvement in private corporations. No marriage between the United States government and automakers, for example. Let businesses run their business as they see fit. And if they can't run a business and they go belly up, or they're going to go belly up, no bailouts from the federal government. Hello, General Motors. Stop getting involved in corporations and in corporate welfare. Number 12, require voter identification, require in-person voting, consider a national holiday for voting. Use paper ballots, and make sure that the elections are overseen by federal election officials. Number 13, ban all remaining federal employees and elected officials from being involved with the stock market. Hello. How many of you know how people like Nancy Pelosi got rich? Do you think maybe they had a little tip-off as to what was happening in the stock market before it actually happened? Well, that's one way. It's not the only way. Hello, lobbyist money. But it's certainly one way. It's insidious. It's wrong. It's evil. It's unethical. And I would say if you're a federal employee or you're an elected official, you will not be in the stock market. I know I'm sounding like a king, right? Well, hey, what can I tell you? Maybe we need a little kingly action, righteous kingly action. Number 14, ban all use of military equipment at public events. It offends me greatly, ladies and gentlemen, and it should offend you if you're an American citizen to see flyovers of fighter jets at sporting events. Now, this is done to raise patriotism, to elevate patriotism among American citizens. But you got to look at the big picture, folks. This is not a proper use of our military. This reeks of the old Soviet-style parades where they would parade their military equipment in front of the peasants. And I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I don't think such things should be used at public events to stoke up this false sense of patriotism. We can be patriotic Americans without that. Those things are better left unseen. Our enemies are watching as well. So that wouldn't happen in my administration. Plus, it cost a lot of money, right? And I would always have at the forefront of my mind the taxpayers and what they are on the hook for. Any elected official is beholden to the taxpayers and should act responsibly toward the monies that are collected from the taxpayers. And this is a poor use and an unethical use of taxpayer funds, in my opinion. Where am I here? All right. Number 15, drill, baby, drill. We would open up the drilling right now, day one, and we would end dependence on foreign oil. I would tell Saudi Arabia, go pound sand. We don't need your oil any longer. We got our own oil. Oh, by the way, would you like to buy some of ours? We've got it, and we should be using it. Drill, baby, drill. It's Christmas Day for drilling. We would be drilling. Number 16, end the federal gas tax. Getting excited about that? Number 17, completely rewrite the tax code. Now, I'm not completely insane. It does require some measure of tax money to run the federal government, but not nearly as much as we're using right now. And I would completely propose a rewriting of the tax code. Whatever you want to have, maybe a flat tax or maybe a VAT tax, a value-added tax that is paid at the register. But I would say that there would have to be a cap on federal taxes at 9% and no more. Across the board, the same rate for everybody. That's fair. Have everybody pay the same rate. Do you know why I stop at 9%? This is the Christian side of me talking. In Christianity, we have what's called the tithe. We give 10% of our income to the Lord. So why should the federal government get more than the Lord? Hello? Anybody? Now, you don't even have to be religious to agree with that. I bet anybody would be excited to pay just 9% tops, right? Number 18, leave the Paris Climate Accords. Leave them. We're done. We're done with you people. Number 19, ban all foreign ownership of American assets. That means land. That means assets. China is not coming over here and buying our land, not as long as I'm president. Number 20, and this goes along with number 1, I'm bringing the troops home, but they're going to be redeployed to the American borders, south and north. And we're going to solve this immigration problem once and for all. Number 21, end immigration. Notice I did not say end illegal immigration. I said end immigration, period. We've got to stop it for a while. We simply have to. This is not unprecedented. Previous presidents have ended immigration. We are overrun with immigration right now. Unfortunately, people who want to immigrate here legally are at a disadvantage because we are just buried with illegal immigrants. And I think the best thing to do is just to reboot the system and end it for a period of at least 5 years before we reboot it. And then our focus would be solely on legal immigration and that alone. All right, where am I here? Number 22, end all foreign aid. All of it. For example, Israel is a very wealthy nation. Why are we sending them money? It would end with me. No more foreign aid. Politicians have got to realize they don't have any money. They get their money from the taxpayers, okay? It's the taxpayers' money. And a politician is supposed to be a good steward of these funds. It's American money. It's intended for The use of America, not some other nation. And we would end all foreign aid day one. Number 23, appoint Tucker Carlson as my press secretary. You think he'd do it? If he won't, I'll do it myself. But anyway. Number 25, I would propose the phasing out of Social Security. Now, let me elaborate on that for a moment. Social Security is nothing but a pyramid scheme, and all of you probably understand that. If the federal government would say to me today, let's make a deal, we'll give you everything you've ever paid in the course of your working life over, 40-something years now, at least 40 years, 63, yeah, at least 40 years, more than that. If they would say to me, we'll make you a deal, we'll give you every cent that you've ever paid into Social Security, and we don't owe you anything else, I would say, I take the deal. Our young people that are entering the workforce would be so much better off if they could take the money that is taken from them without choice by the Social Security Administration and let them have that money so they can invest in private investment. They would fare far better when they reached retirement age. Now, I would not cut off seniors. I would not cut not anybody that is paid into Social Security would get their money. This is something that would have to be phased out over a period of several years. Nobody would get gypped here. But it would start with those who are entering the workforce. We would say to people who are entering their workforce, starting their careers, look, there's not going to be Social Security when you reach retirement age, okay? So we're not taking anything away from you now. From now on, you start investing for your own future and your own retirement, and we would phase this whole thing out because you could make so much more money in the private market than just having that money confiscated from you basically by the federal government. All right, where am I? In foreign aid, I did that. All right, number 26, I would order the immediate release of all JFK files, every one of them. Number 27, I would reboot the McCarthy Commission. How many of you know what that is or was? That was way back in was it the 50s? Or, no, I think it was the 40s when we had the McCarthy Commission. Senator McCarthy of Wisconsin, a man who has been demonized and pilloried because he had a commission where he was trying to root out communists in America, namely in the entertainment industry. And you know what? He was right. He was right. He got demonized by a lot of people for doing that, but that man was right. We need to wake up to the fact that communism is an enemy to the American way of life, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe we need to reboot the McCarthy Commission and root out communism from our ranks, both in government and in our homeland. We don't need communism in America. A little strong, right? Man, we got firecrackers going off. Really? On New Year's Day? Whatever. Going crazy out there. All right, number 28. I would establish new requirements for welfare, which is to simply say this. If you are able-bodied and you can work, you need to be working. You don't need to be mooching off the federal government or anybody else for that matter, state government, anybody. If you are able-bodied and can work, you need to work. It's as simple as that. Now, I understand there are people who are disabled. There are people who, for whatever reason, cannot. And I'm not pulling the carpet out from under anybody. But by George, if you can work, you ought to be working. You know, I got that mindset, honestly. My father was the hardest working man you ever met in your life. Frank was a hard working man. He was raised on a farm. That man, every day of his life, he was up before the sun working, and he was working when the sun went down. Every day of his life except for Sunday. That's just how he was. He worked and he taught his sons to work, and he told us, you're going to learn how to work, and he wasn't kidding. And I've been working my whole life since I was a teenager. I started working at his shop. He'd put a rag in my pocket and a broom in my hand, and I worked. I've always worked. I've never not worked. I have been working my whole life. There is no other way. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be working, not just sitting around watching cable TV, which I don't have anymore. So yeah, if you're able-bodied and you can work, you need to be working. Number 29, I think it is. Forgive me if my numbers are wrong. I would ban all federal employee unions. Federal workers don't need to be unionized. I'm not necessarily anti-union, but I am as far as federal unions go, or federal worker unions go. I just wouldn't have it. The notion that federal employees would have a union is repugnant to me. We support them with our tax dollars. To think they would organize against the very taxpayers that have to fund their salaries is, I can't take that. Sorry. That's what I've got. I got one more thing. Deport Fang. Anybody know who I'm talking about? If you don't know who Fang is, do yourself a favor, and when this video is over, Google Fang Eric Swalwell. Swallwell. Fang Eric Swalwell, and you'll see what I'm talking about if you don't know already. That's what President Tim would do. What do you think? You think I'm onto something there? I want to share one more thing with you before we go. I've shared in the past the series of books, all the books that I've written over the years with you all, so you know about that. But I have failed to mention something. By the way, Marina says, hey, her dad's not doing too well, so if you just uphold Marina and Bonita and Richard in your prayers, I would appreciate that. I have failed to mention, though, that Marina, my wife, she is also an author. I should have mentioned this, and I didn't. Marina is actually a poet, and she happens to be a darn good poet. I don't know if any of you are into poetry, and I have ransacked the house looking for her book, and for the life of me, I know it's here, but I can't find it. But I'm going to share it with you. If you're into poetry, you won't find a better book of poetry than what she penned, and you can find it on Amazon. I hope you can pick this up. The name of her book, let's see if the camera will get that. It's called Fingerprints on the Soul. And if you go to Amazon and go to books, you can just type in the title of her book, Fingerprints on the Soul. If you like poetry, this will be a delight for you. She is a big fan of poetry and poets. She's a big fan of Emily Dickinson, for example. And I'm telling you, I tried poetry a little bit. I wrote a little bit of it, but she is next level. She is up there, and she should be. I mean, she's a retired English teacher, right? Fingerprints on the Soul. Check it out if you're into poetry. I think you'll really enjoy that. That's what I've got for you today. Hey, give me a big thumbs up on the video. Would you do that for me? I'd appreciate it. That's a great way for you to start the year. Another good way is to subscribe to the channel down below. Just hit the old subscribe button, and you'll be a member of our channel. Thank you, everybody, so much. Comment down below. Let me know what you would do were you President of the United States. I'd love to hear it. Tell me if you think I'm a little loopy. Maybe I am. Or if you're saying right on, let me hear about it down in the comments below. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Again, Happy New Year. I'm glad you're here. We got a lot of things coming up, and I'm looking forward to it. Everybody take care.